Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Crochet Craze Creation. My name is Courtney, and in today's tutorial, I am going to be teaching you how to crochet in the front loops. So if you are someone who is struggling with crochet, who is struggling to do like brim linings for hats or for any type of project, I'm going to be teaching you how to go into the front loops to create a nice brimming line for either a hat, or either a scarf, any type of project that requires going into the front loops. If you're trying to do a really good project to create something sweet or in general. So yeah, today I'm going to be showing you how I go into these front loops right here. So not the back loops. That was our last tutorial that I showed you how to go into the back loops. But today we are going to be learning how to go into the front loops only. So it's these loops right here. So it's these loops, not the back loops, these loops, these front loops right there. So let's get into it. So to go in the front loops, I'm going to do double crochets to show you guys. So I'm going to do a yarn over, and I'm going to go into this stitch right here, this stitch right there. And I'm just going to go into the front loop only. And I'm going to pull up a loop. And now I have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to do it again in these front loops here. See, these are the back loops, and these are the front loops right here. And I'm going to do it one more time. So I'm going to do a double crochet into the front loop only, these front loops right here. So you see how this is a little bit more bulged out, and how in the back, these are the back loops right here. So see how it's more like just bulged out on this side? It makes, for hats basically, I use this little skill to make the brimming on the very end of my hats, because this is actually the project that I'm using for one of my ruffle bucket hats. If you haven't seen the tutorial for that, go check it out. It is on my channel. And yeah, so this is how I do the brim lining for the second to last row of my ruffle bucket hats, which makes it really nice to have the brimming stand out more. So it stands out more like this, to actually have like a really good lining on the inside for when you put it on your head. So these are the back loops, and this is what we do for the front loops. So if you are struggling to learn how to do this, like I said in my last video for going into the back loops, put stitch markers in the back loops. That way you know where the front loops are. That way you're not confused, and you actually do a really good job on the very outer brimming to go outwards on a project of a hat or a beanie, or even just a regular bucket hat. So that way it bulges out like that. And that way on the other side is more like a little brim lining. So yeah, put stitch markers. So I'm going to put some stitch markers to show you guys. So that way it makes it easier for you to see. But I do notice that some people do have a problem or a difficulty with going into front loops and back loops for crochet. So what I would do is I would just take a stitch marker, wrong stitch, is take a stitch marker, go into the back loops, and just mark those back loops, so that way you know where you're putting your stitches for the front loops. So that way you create that little lining. Get the string out of the way. So that way you create this little lining here of how it's going out. And that way when you either make a hat, this little bulge here comes out good, and you have a good lining for a hat or any kind of project that you're trying to do, if you're trying to go into the front loops to make a really good lining. So yeah, just put like stitch markers in the back loops to help you see those front loops. So see how when putting the stitch markers helps you find those front loops as well. So yeah, put stitch markers if you have to. Do what you have to do in order to see those front loops, like how I said from my previous video of like putting stitch markers in the front loops to actually go into the back loops. So this is this is like reverse. So instead of putting stitch markers here, you're putting stitch markers in the back loops. That way you see the front loops for doing any type of outer popping brimming for any type of project. So that way it makes it a whole lot easier to see where you're going and what you're trying to do for in each stitch. So I am going to just double crochet in the remaining stitches in these 2 stitches here to show you what I mean. So see how I'm going into the front loops? You're just going into those front loops right here. These front loops. And just doing double crochet. So see how it's bulging out? That's how you want it to look for when you're doing any type of project. Like I said, this basic flow project that I'm just showing you an example of, I am basically just doing my usual ruffled bucket hat that I have like I said, one of my other tutorials on how to do it. And this is just how I do the second to last row brimming for the hat to create a nice little inner liner for around the head. So yeah, that is how you go into the front loops and to create this little lining there, which makes it look really nice. Okay, so for the rest of this tutorial, I'm just gonna put stitch markers in each stitch to really make sure you guys see what I mean. So like I said, if you're struggling with going into the front loops as well, like I said, put stitch markers like how I'm doing right here. That way you can actually see the front loops as well. So see how like putting stitch markers on the other side helps you see those front loops. So I am going to double crochet in those stitches to show you how easy it is to see them. So you're going to go into the front loops. See, I'm going into these front loops right here. You're just going to double crochet. Two. See how it is? And see how those stitch markers really do actually help. So yeah, if you're really getting confused, put stitch markers, put any kind of like little marker on those back loops so you can crochet into the front loops. And see how it's popping out? So that's exactly what you want when you're going into the front loops. You want it to pop out like that to make it look more like almost like an outer brimming line. And that way the other side will look like that. It'll look like a little liner. Like I said, for any type of project. But yeah, this is how the outer side or the inner side will look, and this is how your outer side should look. So this is the inner side. These are the back loops. This is the outer side where you did the double crochets in the front loops. So you want it to pop out like that. You see. So yeah, like I said, if you're struggling, just do this. It'll help definitely a lot. It'll start you on a good track for just starting out in crochet. And yeah, I mean, the way I do it, I don't usually put stitch markers, but putting stitch markers does help, especially if you're a beginner. And that's how it will end up when you do only just the front loops. So if this tutorial was very helpful, I'm hoping it was very helpful. please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. It really does help me in the algorithm out, especially for other tutorials that I do plan on making for other projects. And leave anything in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you guys. I do not mind any criticism, to be honest with you. And just, you know, just keep following along and get that skill down for front loops and back loops, and just get, like I said, put stitch markers for those back loops so you can, for those who are struggling, if you're learning to go into the front loops, and just follow along for more. And for any other, and yeah, just like leave any comments down below and let me know.